problem, no they finish. Are you? It's better to find your way. So go. Wahala be like bicycle. Are you? Me no fit fight, me no fit ja.
Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Become Successful with your host, Yemi, Osho. On this episode, I bring to you another important personality in person of Taraji Penda Henson. She was born on September 11th of 1970 in Washington, D.C., U.S. She's an American actress and she studied acting at Harvard University and began a Hollywood career in guest roles on several TV shows before making a breakthrough in Baby Boy 2001. And she has won several awards ranging from the Academy Award and SAG Award. Please sit back, relax, and listen to Top 10 Success Tips by Taraji Penda Henson.
Then for me as a woman, it wasn't just about women of color. It was even women, Betty Davis I studied. So I wanted to be a part of that pool that will go out and save lives, because I'm telling you, art is what saved me from the streets of Washington, D.C. And I grew up in the 80s. Thank you. I grew up in the 80s in a time where I came from a broken home. But, you know, when crack was dropped off in the hood, I saw families broken apart. Why are you at my door knocking, needing a T-shirt when you have your mother and your father home? Well, you know, they're on drugs now. So I grew up in that. And I just felt like it was my mission as an artist. Like, how do you, as a young child, how do you change the course of what you see happening around you? You stop complaining about it and you be a part of the solution, right? I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I would have a voice. I knew I had to, in order to save those coming behind me. And for a child who only understand God's love, you know, they haven't been tainted by society, they don't see color, they just see a hero. Then we make it about race, right? But what's so beautiful about this story, Hidden Figures, is just I starting to see young girls of all races, of all colors, dressing up like Katherine Johnson. And that's when I thought about it. I was like, it has nothing to do with race. It has all to do with, how does this person lift me up? How does this person make me feel good about being myself? How does this person or this image make me feel good about being a young girl who's going to grow up one day and become a woman? It shouldn't have to do with anything with race. It shouldn't have to deal with race. But at the end of the day, it should be a balance, I think. You choose. That's what this world is about. That's what life is about. God put us all. You think it is just a coincidence that we ended up here all together looking different? That's a part of the plan. Right? We're supposed to be here. People make the world go round. We are to inspire each other. God put us here. We better get along. We better figure this out. But that's why we were supposed to look different. That's what being a human is about. I don't want to go to a planet where everybody looks the same. Boring. That means you're telling the same story. So how are you changing me? How am I changing? How am I evolving? And then here's the kick. And then here's the kicker. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be a challenge, because that's how we learn. If you never fall, how do you learn to get back up? If you never touch the stove and go, ah, that's hot, how will you ever know? I think that's the beauty of life. I think that's the beautiful gift that God gave us. And I'm not here to preach and tell you that you need to believe in God, but if I were you, I believe in something a little more higher than humans, I'm just saying.
Had the world's biggest girl crush on you as Cookie Lion. Then I saw you as Katherine Johnson beating the boys at math, and I knew I had been wrong. And here you are in person, so thank you so much for being here. Look, you embody completely different characters, and I think it would be really interesting for our audience to know how you do that, because all of us out here, sometimes we find ourselves in a room and we're the only. And sometimes we find ourselves with our sisters, and we got to act different in those two situations. So what can we learn from you about how to be effective embodying different characters in different situations?
Well, for me, it's a difference because I'm a trained actress, so there's a craft to that. Lots and lots of training. But, you know, as far as moving in crowds and having to wear the mask, I think naturally that comes from being black. You always got to wear two faces, but just, it was a joke, but it was very real.
I think it was very real.
It was very real. But no, sometimes in life, you know, as women, sometimes we have to pull out the man underwear just to compete in the room and hold our own. And that comes from a place of confidence, I guess. You know, just knowing that you have a voice, knowing that what you have to say is important and standing by that. And that's who I am. That's why I got this tattoo, The Truth, because before my father passed, he said, live in your truth. Don't be afraid of your truth, of who you are, because God made us all uniquely different for a reason. So as long as I'm in my truth, I can move anywhere. I can go anywhere and say anything because it's my truth. And my truth comes from a place of love. So with that being said, I'm fearless.
So that is a really important point. I read your book, and I've looked into your history, and I understand you've had challenges, as many of us have. It's not a straight road. You don't get there easy all the time. But when you encounter fear, you don't run away. You find that courage within, and you move forward. I think that's another important message for all of us. How do we find that and do that? How do you do that?
The first thing is understanding that life is spiritual warfare. That's what it is. It's the light chasing dark, sun chasing the moon, love, hate, yes, no, negative, positive. That's life. And every day as a human, you have a choice. You wake up and you say, which side am I going to choose to be on today? Because it's a battle every day. And you either choose fear or you choose faith. Fear and faith cannot exist together. You got to choose one. You can't say, oh, Lord, I believe you're going to bless me today, and I'm going to go out here, and I'm going to work, and a blessing is going to come. You can't say that but stay stuck in your on your sofa in fear, because the job is not going to come to you. The blessing is not going to knock on the door. You have to choose a side, and you have to walk that path when you leave your house. So I just choose every day. Some days it's harder than others. But I just constantly choose faith. And whatever scares me, faith will clear out the fear because it can't coexist.
Many of us are people of faith, and I think that we don't necessarily always discuss it. But faith obviously has had a huge role in where you are today. Do you want to just talk about that a little bit more?
You know, like my father told me, all you have to have is the faith of a mustard seed. Have you ever seen the size of a mustard seed?
Tiny, tiny.
That's what I went to LA with. I didn't know how my life was going to pan out. I had a son. I mean, all the odds were stacked against me, but I had the faith of a mustard seed. And I also had a Howard University training.
That was a blessing.
Well, yeah, well, that's the thing, that the talent sustains you, but it doesn't necessarily get you in the door. No one cares about how many plays you did on theater, on a stage in Hollywood. They don't care. Can you get the audience to buy a ticket? And that takes time. But what I did know was, if God, you give me the time, I have the talent. Just give me the time, I'll make it, you know. And you know, never compare yourself to people's journeys. Their journey is their journey, and yours is yours.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to train yourself to just stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
And patience and faith.
Patience.
Faith, faith, faith. Get it?
Represented in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, which is very important in this room. We are in the Bay Area here, home of technology. We're also underrepresented in film and television, and the Hollywood pay gap comes to mind for me. What do you think's going on there, and what do you think we can do to change that?
You know, I started off wanting to be just an actress. Didn't really know that I would end up producing. You know, that's what it takes. It takes people that break this glass ceiling down, create opportunities for others coming behind them, and that's how you see this diversity. And that's what you're starting to see. I saw somewhere that Kerry Washington and Viola Davis are both starting production companies. And so it takes that. You know, every time I go and I talk to these young kids, you know, they're so infatuated with being an actress. They want to be pretty and they want to be in front of the camera. And I'm like, no, 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 you're thinking too small. Where are the female studio execs? Where are African American executives that are going to change the way we see film? So it's all making people think differently, you know what I mean? So I do the best I can, I make the little bit of change that I can, and hopefully that affects the next person, and so on and so forth. But I think Hollywood is in a good place. I think Hollywood is the most progressive when it comes to diversity. I think the world looks to Hollywood as an example, and I think we're doing really well.
No, I think there's tremendous power in film and television to pull the world forward.
You know what I mean? So I do the best I can, I make the little bit of change that I can, and hopefully that affects the next person, and so on and so forth. But I think Hollywood is in a good place. I think Hollywood is the most progressive when it comes to diversity. I think the world looks to Hollywood as an example, and I think we're doing really well.
No, I think there's tremendous power in film and television to pull the world forward. It's why it's really an incredibly important occupation. I mean, incredibly important.
That's why it saddens me to see that the government's snatching, and it has been for years, arts and music out of schools, especially public schools, because that's where it's needed.
Yes, that engages the
every
child's mind.
It does, and you have to come up with different ways to entertain and educate these children today, because now we're battling the internet.
Yeah.
Now a kid can zone out real easy in class on the phone.
Right.
You know, so we have to make it interesting, and I think that's where the arts play such a big role.
Oh, I am a huge advocate for the arts as well, so
Yes.
Thank you for speaking to that. So you and I have one thing in common. We're both single moms.
Yes.
Often we hear that women can't have it all, but you, I believe, had your son, Marcel, when you were still in college. You went off to Hollywood with hardly any change in your pocket, and yet here we are sitting on this dais today, and you know, we have a lot. So what's your advice for women in the audience around balancing career, ambition, motherhood, family, faith? How do you do it? How do you bring those together?
I ignore naysayers, because when you're doing something different or something that no one has ever done before, you look like a unicorn. So, what are you doing? You'll never make it. You're gonna die, you're gonna starve. And it's like, I haven't even tried yet.
I just got warmed up here.
I mean, God, I just had the baby. Can I at least try to finish college first, you know? So I think when you do things that society deems as not the right way, but first of all, what is the right way?
Oh, I don't know. I've never known.
Right. The right way is your way.
Yeah.
You create your own standards. Well, miss, I know you got married and you have the picket fence. Well, life just didn't deal me those cards. I have these cards, so this is what I'm gonna do with them. It doesn't mean that I'm a horrible person or that I'm gonna fail in life because I became a mother early. It just means I'm a mother now. Moving on. I mean, I think sometimes, and a lot of times when people, it's not out of hate, it's out of fear, it's out of their own fear. But what you're not going to do is project your fear onto me. Your fear is none of my business. It's not. It's not. And I was with my son's father. He was my boyfriend. It wasn't like I was out there being loosey-goosey and there was a oops. Well, it was a oops because we didn't plan it. But it was okay. It was just my journey. And I, some people looked at her, oh, she's a single mother. She's going to drop out of college. I love to hear those whispers. Please underestimate me. I'm begging you. Because I will sit back and watch you eat crow. But no, and it's just about having that fight. You see that fight I have? If you don't have that fight for yourself, no one else. I tell my son this all the time, baby, I can't want it more than you.
Right.
I can't. I can give you the roadmap. I can tell you the people to go and see. But if you don't have that will inside, that passion inside of you, it's moot. So you have to have that. And you can't let people dictate and project. I'm sorry, I don't.
So you all, you heard it here. We're out of.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Become Successful with Yemi and Osho. I would like to read from you. What are those things that resonate so much with you? What are those things that you find so interesting about Taraji Henson's top 10 success tips? If you have any recommendation, you can also use the comment section. And if you like the content of this video, kindly like this video, share with family and friends. If you're new to this channel, your first time, subscribe. And if you're subscribed, smash the notification bell so that others can see this video. And I will see you on the next episode. Peace.
Yeah, one way.